Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to the segment of Coach Gurbani. We continue with recitations from Gauri Mahalla Panjava. Thati Pai Har ko Naam, bichar sansar, Puran sabbe kaam, Vadbhagi har kirtan gaiye, Par Brahm tu deh tapaiye rahao, Har ke charan hriday urdhar, Avsagar chad uttar hai par, Sadhu sang karo sab koe, Sada kalyan phir dukh na hoye, Prem bhagat bhaj guni nidhan, Nanak dargah paiye maan. Prem bhagat bhaj guni nidhan, Nanak dargah paiye maan. Essentially, how to be in the world and yet not of it. How to successfully accomplish our affairs. That is done by reaching that threshold of consciousness. That is the central message of this passage. And let's see how Guru Arjan explains it to us. He begins by saying, Thati Pai Har ko Naam. Thati is a sack, but also a signifier for capital. It's a sack in which you carry valuable things. The reference here, of course, is to the wealth of Guru wisdom. Thati Pai Har ko Naam. The wealth of self-knowledge is what I have, he says. And with that, Bichar sansar, Puran sabbe kaam. You move freely through life. Bichar is to move. Sansar, the world. And Puran sabbe kaam, successfully accomplish your affairs. What that means is that if you have good wisdom, and wisdom is nothing more than the knack of applying knowledge to practical situations in a proportionate way. So, without bias or prejudice. And good wisdom, when good wisdom becomes the guide, then every situation as it presents itself to you is faced with equipoise, without any built-in bias or prejudice. That is what good wisdom does. It gives you the ability to put aside your private prejudices, your built-in notions of how things should be. It gives you the capacity to see objectively the way things are. And therefore, decisions that you make, actions that you perform, will always be met with success. So we get from this that when we encounter obstructions in what we are doing, the obstruction really is our own self, the ego self, haume consciousness. It prevents us from seeing. It's a blind spot. It just prevents you from seeing the full picture of any situation. And that is the cause of a lot of strife and confrontation in the world. But you have to be blessed. You're fortunate if you actually have applied yourself to Guru wisdom. Vadbhagi har kirtan gaiye. If we were so blessed, we would receive Par Brahm tu deh tapaiye. We receive the gift of glorification of the self. that is Guru wisdom, is glorification. And what is glorification? How does one glorify the self that already possesses all the glory? The hint for this is given to us in the first stanza of Jap Bani, where Babaji says, Hukam Rajai Chalana Nanak Likhya Nav. That is the right way to glorify the Creator. Hukam Rajai Chalana. It's to attune yourself. And you attune yourself through acceptance and submission. So when you look at a situation without bias, without prejudice, you are actually aligned to hukam. And then you see an emerging change wanting to happen. So you allow that change to happen even though your personal biases and prejudices may oppose it. You don't create confrontation because you can see what is trying to emerge. And so to glorify the self is one, acceptance, hukam rajai chalana, submission. And the second aspect of it is kirtan gaiya, extolling it. How do you extol the self? You do that by rehearsing in yourself its attributes. You cultivate virtue instead of vice. If you recall a couple of passages ago, we were talking about the defiling qualities of the mind, kam, krodh, lobha, moha, ahankar. Well, these have to be transformed. That is what cultivating virtue means. They have to be restrained, and what you have to cultivate in their place is sat, santokh, acceptance, submission, contentment, empathy. It's the same energy that has to be transmuted, repurposed. Har ke charan hirde urtar pavasagar chad utare par साध संग करो सब कोय sada kalyan fir dukh na hoy. 2 verses stressing what we need to do. Instill self-knowledge in the heart, hriday, which is the center of our being, and then ride the ocean of fear, bhavasagar chad utare par. So to submit to hukam requires that we straddle life with self-knowledge. Put that around. Only then can we expect to traverse the ocean of fear. And pray, what is the ocean of fear? It's Haume consciousness. It is the existential substratum of fear to which we are bound. So you need to straddle it with self-knowledge. It's like a life jacket that'll float you across the ocean despite your weight. So despite the baggage of ego, if you have self-knowledge, it will ferry you across. But to do that, sadhu sanga karo sab koy. If you desire your welfare, sada kalyan fir dukh na hoy. If you desire your welfare, which is in crossing over, then find the company of the enlightener, and with loving devotion, prem pagat, seek the treasure trove of qualities within. Paj guni nidhan. Guni nidhan is a reference to the self within, and it is known to us by its infinite attributes. And in conclusion, Guru Arjan says, Nanak dargah paiye maan. Now, dargah paiye maan, we have encountered this before in Japji. So we need to spend a little bit of time understanding dargah. The word dargah is Persian in origin and refers to religious shrines, especially the shrine of a Sufi saint. But if you look at the etymology of the word, it is a combination of dar, which means a door, and ga. Ga means a place, but particularly a mysterious place. Ga also means mystery. So a dargah is a portal, it is a doorway that leads to a place of mystery. Because Gurbani is metaphoric, we have to understand this as a metaphor for inner states of consciousness. Arriving at the dargah can then be seen as a breakthrough moment in the journey of self-actualization. Man tu jot swarup, that's what we are doing with Gurbani as our guide. So from this threshold of consciousness, an intuitive communication with the inner self becomes possible. So you have reached a place where that possibility has now begun. And it is there that you, paye maan, that you receive honor and recognition. What does this honor and recognition mean? Who is giving you the honor and who is recognizing you? Well, it turns out what that means is the ability to experience the full force and expression of hukam. That is the honor and the recognition. And in the Jap Bani, that state of consciousness is also called the Panch. In other words, those who possess this state of consciousness. Not only does it refer to the actual state, but it also refers to those who have achieved that state. They are the natural leaders of humanity. Panch Parwan, Panch Pradhan, Panche Pave, Dargah Maan. On that note, until the next time, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.